Hi everyone, today we're going to learn how to make a corner in our C2C crochet blanket. I've had a few people ask questions about this, so I'd like to show the technique. So I've started off by making a orange triangle or half of a washcloth, and I'm just going to finish this row first so you can see how I crochet. This doesn't mean that you have to follow exactly the same way I do. I like to hold the hook, I guess, as a pencil. So I'm making my crochet stitches next to each other and reasonably tightly. I don't want the blankets to fall apart when I finish making them. So I've just got a few more stitches to go for the end of this row. Now, because it's a corner to corner blanket, obviously you're crocheting diagonally from corner to corner. So C2C blankets are not worked row by row horizontally, they're worked on the diagonal, or as they call it in Kentucky at least, catty corner. As you can probably tell from the accent, I'm actually an Australian who's moved to America to live. So I'm kind of bilingual now. I can work in either, which is helpful when it comes to crochet terms, because the English crochet terms and the American crochet terms are not the same. If you're working on a pattern from a country other than your own, I really recommend looking up a conversion chart for the stitches so you know what the name of each stitch is in the pattern that you're using. And I'll put some links to some really helpful websites in the video when I put it up online. So this is the last stitch of the last row before the corner. So this stitch here is going to form part of the corner of the work, and the next row you will begin decreasing the length of the row so that you can make the top and the side of the square that you're working on. Not every blanket is square, some are going to be rectangular, so you will have two separate corners to work. And I strongly recommend looking at the chart that goes with my pattern, not just the written pattern, but look at the chart to determine where you are in relation to the corner that you're working on. Now, because it's corner to corner crochet, as you can see, you'll have blocks of stitches. The first block goes one direction, the second block goes 90 degrees the opposite direction. So you'll have one block going across and one block going vertical and one block going across and one block going vertical. If you discover that you think you've got two blocks that are both going in the same direction, then something isn't right and you should stop and check your work. Right, so now that we're at the corner, we have to slip stitch the orange thread across the end of the blanket or square. So as you can see, I'm not increasing on that end anymore. We don't want it to get any bigger. We want to make a square. Now I'm introducing a second color here just to make it easier for you to see what I'm talking about when I'm saying we stopped working along the blanket and we're now going to work back up the blanket. Alright, so the new stitch of the next row after the corner goes above the previous stitch, not beside the previous stitch. Now I've only changed colour just to make it easier to show you the difference between going bigger and going up. Alright, so we're now working our way up the right hand side of this square. So we're making the first block of this row above the last stitch instead of next to the last stitch. So that's the first block completed for the side of the square. Okay, so let me just get all that yarn out the way again. Right, so you can see the blue block is above the last block, not next to the last block. And now of course we keep going. We slip stitch. We only do 3 chain because we're increasing the height, but we're not increasing the width anymore. Alright, so I'm going to continue working on this row so that I can get to the other end and show you the top corner as well. That way you get to see 2 different corners in this one demonstration. So I'll just crochet along about as fast as I possibly can for you, so you don't have to just sit here and watch me crochet. But I'm hoping that you can see how the sides are formed and the top will be formed by looking at the way this is done. We're no longer making it wider, we're going up the work instead of across the work. So I'm going to crochet about as fast as my little fingers will carry me, and we'll get to the top edge in just a moment. Now don't worry too much about how I crochet the stitches. I will do some more videos on how to begin a C2C blanket and how to work the stitches, and some of the tricks I've learnt for if you think you're about to run out of yarn before you reach the end of the blanket. There are some tricks that we can use that may help get a little bit more out of each ball of yarn or wool. Alright, so I'm nearly at the other corner. And I will have some links below. I have an Etsy store where I sell my crochet patterns. They're all C2C blankets. I have a lot of military blankets. My husband's a retired Marine, and I thoroughly support the endeavours of the military families. So if you're looking for a blanket design, please come and look at my Etsy page. I also do painting and artwork in my spare time, and I have a painting and artwork site on RedBubble, and I'll put the link in for that as well in case you ever want to check out my artwork also. So here we are, we're at the last stitch of the shorter row, and we're going to make the top edge of the blanket now. So instead of continuing all the way up above that orange stitch, our last stitch goes next to the orange stitch, and that's how we're going to make our top edge and stop increasing the length of the square and make our top edge. So this will be the end of the stitch, and we're still going to slip stitch it back into the square next to it because obviously we want the blanket to stay together and not fall apart. Now, so as you can see, the bottom edge is no longer getting longer, it's going up, and then the top edge is not going any higher, it's starting to go across, and that's how you make your corners for your C2C. Alright, and because we've now finished that edge, we need to slip stitch 3 stitches across that blue stitch that we've just put in. So we slip stitch 3 stitches across it, and that's how we get the hook to the starting point of the next row, because we're no longer increasing, so we're no longer making 7 chain to start each new block because we're no longer increasing the blanket. So to start this row, we're only going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then that's when we start our next stitch. Again, we're working above our previous work. We're no longer going across and making it wider. So this is just to go above your previous stitch. Now I'll continue to do some more squares just so you can check my technique and see if there's anything in there that may appeal to you. If you crochet a different way, that's perfectly fine. There's no rules when it comes to how you hold your hook, how you hold your wool, what you do to control your tension. None of that. Whatever works for you is fine. If anyone's got any questions, you're more than welcome to post them in the comments section, and I'll do my very best to assist you, or I'll look up some information if I feel that someone else has a better answer than I could come up with. Alright? I appreciate the support. Please come and look at my Etsy store, or come and look at my RedBubble for paintings. Thank you.